Yaakov, he chased after him for several days, catches up to him. So this turns into a confrontation, you understand? Not a pleasant confrontation was over here.
Yaakov is left with Leah and Rachel.
Why? Because, exactly. Why? Because Lavan accused them, of stealing his dolls, his gods, whatever those things. So because of that, Yaakov was very offended by that. How could you accuse me of stealing? What do you think, I'm a thief? So how did it turn out over here? So Yaakov gave Lavan a reprimand over here. I was so good to you. I was such a good employee. I did everything honest by the book. You never lost any money with me. Everything was kosher. Everything was glad kosher. Everything I did well, and you're still complaining about me. That I stole something from you. What did I steal from you? What are you talking about? So what happens is that Lavan, he hears this reprimand of Yaakov. Yaakov lost his temper a little bit. You understand? So he lost his temper. So the answer is Lavan like this, right? Vayan Lavan vayomer el Yaakov. הבנות בנותיי, והבנים בניי, והצאן צאני, וכל אשר אתה רואה לי הוא. So you know the answers, right? Nice, tricky, nice, subtle words he says over here. Right? So what? Says, listen, you're leaving me now. You've got a big family, you've got lots of children, you've got wives, you've got wealth, you've got animals, livestock, all this you got. So he says, tell me, where did all this come from? It came from me, everything. The daughters are mine, the children are mine, the livestock came from me, everything came from me. And you're still complaining about me? That's what Lavan tells him, you understand? Tells him. The source for everything you have right now is from me. And you're still complaining? That's what Lavan tells him. But the truth is, right, that his claim over here was not really a kosher claim. Why? Why not a kosher claim? Because he did everything in his power to prevent all this happening. You understand? He tried to kill them and to destroy everything and to make sure that he has no wealth. And he tried to put spells on the children to kill them and all kinds of things. He was doing everything in his power to prevent all this good stuff happening to him, Yaakov. So now he's saying, but it all came from me. But it begrudgingly came from you. That's what it was, you understand? Not that it came from you with a good heart, because you didn't want to give all this to me. That was the whole idea.
Where do we learn that he put curses on his grandchildren? Sages again?
Where we say in the Agadah, right, that we read on Pesach, over there, when we start reading it, it says, right, Arami Oved Avi. Right? So what is that talking about? Talking about Lavan Arami. That what Oved means tried to destroy. He tried to destroy everything. You understand? So it says over there, the Agadah, if you look over there, that Lavan was the worst. Why? Because he was trying to destroy everybody. He was putting spells on them all the time. He was trying to doing kishuf, jadoebi, all kinds of things. He tried to do everything in his power to destroy them. That they could probably do. He was doing this on a daily basis. You understand? He was a very wicked, methodical man who wanted to destroy everything. That's what it says over there in the Agadah, right? That Lavan came to destroy everything. These are from the sages, yeah, of course. And you're not going to find this explicitly written in the Bible, because these things are, deeper elements of the Torah that Hashem didn't want to show this to everybody, only to the Jews, that they accepted the Torah. When it comes to the oral Torah, why didn't he put the oral Torah and the written Torah together? Why? Because there are certain things that is only for the Jews. He doesn't want everybody else to see that, to have that special closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore the Goyim only have access to the written Torah. They don't have access to the oral Torah. Even though nowadays, by the way, everything is open, a person can go.
I mean, this about Lavan being evil is only in the Mishnah and the Gemara.
Right, he brought down the words of the sages in the Midrash and the Talmud, right? These places in the Zohar Kadosh. Yeah, Talmud is Gemara. That's what it is, right? The same thing, same idea.
It's also there's other material in the.
Sure. It's all mixed up together, right? One big mishmash, but you have all over there all these things. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave only the oral Torah. He gave only to us, that part of the Torah. He didn't want to give to everybody else. Why? Because they didn't accept it. Too bad. If you wanted to accept it, I offered it to you. You don't want to accept. That's your problem. Now it's out of limits for you. It's off limits. So that's what happened with Lavan over here. Understand? And by the way, also, not only he told them this, all what Lavan said, but he said also something else. Now this is written in the verse itself. What does he say? He says, you know what? It says, I have the power to do you bad. I have the power to harm you. That's what he tells them. Meanwhile, if I really wanted to, I could now make war with you and wipe you out. That's what he tells them. But he says, what can I do? You know, what happened was that last night your God came to me and told me not to touch you, not to do anything to you. He admitted this, right? He admitted it. So meaning what? We see from there that if it wasn't for that, he was ready to do everything. He was ready to do you understand? He wasn't coming here to have a barbecue together with Yaakov. He was coming here to do harm. That's what he was coming to do. So anyway, Rabbi, either way, comes out, right, that Lavan, all these tricks that he pulled over here. Now, look what he does, right? After he does all this charade, all the shenanigan, so he tells Yaakov like this, right? Lavan now is worried about himself. What does that mean? He doesn't want, sometime in the future, Yaakov should take revenge on him or whatever, come make a war with him, whatever. So he tells Yaakov like this, right? Ve'ata lecha nichata berit ani ve'ata ve'aya la'ed beni uvenecha, right? It says, you know what? Let's make a pact between you and me, right? Peace treaty. That you're not going to come to my place to do me harm, and I'm not going to come to your place to do you harm. We separate, have peace, separate, peaceful and separate. We don't have anything to do with each other. You're here, I'm there. You're in Israel, I'm in Syria. You have your country, I have my country. Everything is separate. So he tells them, let's make a pact. So this way, non-proliferation treaty, right? That's the way we should do, right? So tell that to Trump. By the way, he's going to Singapore in 2 weeks, right? Same idea. You understand? So. Yaakov agrees to this, right? What is he going to do? Tell him, no, I'm not going to make peace with you. After all, it's his father-in-law, you understand? It's his father-in-law, also his uncle as well. Two things here. He's your uncle and also your father-in-law. So what are you going to tell him? No, I'm going to make war with you. What are you going to tell him? Right? So he tells him, okay, fine. So they made a treaty, right? And in order to solidify, right, this treaty, what they did was also they made some kind of a ceremony there. There was a ceremony made. Maybe they're also going to do it over there in North Korea. They're going to do it in Korea. A ceremony all else over there, right?
So Laban was his uncle.
Yeah.
I mean, Laban was related to Isaac.
He was Rivka's brother. Rivka, right? The mother, his uncle. He was the brother of Rivka.
Brother. Is that what you're
right?
saying?
Yeah.
Rebecca's brother.
Yeah. So comes now, right? And they make a ceremony over here. So what's the ceremony? What do? First of all, they took some stones, right, from all over the place, and they heaped it up into one big, monument. They made a monument, to symbolize that there's going to be peace between us, whatever. So who put up these stones, by the way? Just for the sake of the record, the pasuk says it was the sons of Yaakov who put them up. They made, right, the tircha, the exertion, to take the stones and make a monument and so forth and so on. You should commemorate that we have a peace treaty between us. No hostilities between us. Nothing. That's the way they made it. So it says, right, Vayomer Yaakov le'echav. Yaakov tells his children, Liktu avanim ve'ikhu avanim ve'yasu gal be'ochla shama et hagal. So not only that, right, not only they made a monument, but they also made a seudah. They made a meal, right, to commemorate the event, right? This was supposed to be, they sit down together, eat together. We're all friends. No hostility between us. We're all good together. We drink together, make toasts, right? They make everything. Yeah, they did the whole thing. The whole thing was done, officially. So what happened was, now, right? They both get up to speak. They have each one speaks at the peace treaty. They get up. They make say a few words. So gets up Lavan, and he makes a speech, right? Well, a short speech, pretty much. Doesn't say the whole speech over here, but it says, right? Hagal hazeh ad ed beni benecha hayom al ken kara shemo gal ed. So he says, you know what? This monument is between you. Testimony that we have no hostilities between us. We have peace treaty, right? And he called it gal ed, right? What does that mean? A heap of stones, which is the testimony. In Hebrew, 2 words, gal and ed. Ed means testimony, and gal means a heap. So it says, right, והמצפה אשר אמר יצף אדוני ביני וביניך Ki nisater ish mere'ehu. So now Lavan says, right, that what? They also call this place Mitzpah. Another name, right? This name, by the way, stayed there for a long time, this name. Even when the Jews came to conquer the land, they kept this name for this place. Mitzpah was the official name of this place. So what was the meaning of this word Mitzpah? That what? Yitzef, right? The word Yitzef means to see, to watch, right? So what he meant to say was, Lavan said, you know what? We're going to be now hidden from each other. You're in your place, I don't see you. Right? I'm in my place, you don't see me. But he says, you know what? Nevertheless, even though we don't see each other, but Hashem will see, God will see between us. What does that mean? That I want you to pledge, tells Lavan to Yaakov, I want you to pledge that you're not going to mistreat my daughters, your wives. Treat them good, you're going to be good to them, you're going to do your obligations to them, right? Whatever your obligations are to them, to be with them at a certain amount of times, each one gets his own turn, as we said, we talked about that, right? So he says, you can't deny them, because it causes the woman to suffer. So because of that, I want to make sure, it says Laman, you give each one, right, their dues, as a wife deserves. It tells them like that, right? And also, what? He asked him to pledge also, another thing, right? That what? That you won't take any more wives besides those four. Right? Because, otherwise it's going to be, they're not going to get the proper attention, the proper, proper treatment, whatever. So he made him accept that as a condition that he won't take any more wives on top of his daughters. He accepted that. So what happened was, now, right, continues Lavan to speak, right, and says like this, right, that this is now a monument that I won't come to your side for hostility, you won't come to my side for hostility. It's going to be, right, peace between us always and forever, right? That's the way it's going to be. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Nachor, Ishpatu Benenu. So he says, if something will happen between us, right, somebody will break the contract. So he says, your gods and my God should come and judge us, to see who did something wrong. They will judge. They will be the judge of the right. Who broke the pact? So it says, right, Vaishlach Yaakov zevach bahar vaikra le'echav le'echol lechem echlu lechem vayalinu bahar. So it says, right, they made a meal. They broke bread together. They had the meal. So the interesting thing is like this, right? That really, if you look at the historical facts, though, right, one side over here did break the treaty over here, right? Even though they had made this treaty, who was the one who broke the treaty? Lavan. Lavan didn't keep this treaty. How do we know, by the way, they didn't keep the treaty? Because at the times of Bil'am, who was his grandson, he came to attack the Jews. You understand? So the hostilities that were supposed to be kept all this time, the non-proliferation was broken by Lavan and his grandson, Bilam. He came to curse the Jews, right, to attack the Jews, and so forth, so on. So really, it was his side that broke the contract, right? That's the way it was. Unfortunately, right? When you make a pact with a rasha like this, it's not the worth the paper that it's written on. You understand? Because they don't keep it. They sign it, they don't keep it. Go ask Arafat, right? He signed all kinds of things. They didn't keep one word they signed. Nothing they signed. They kept, right? That's the way it is by them. And by the way, they're even proud of it, that they break the treaty. They say, we'll sign and then we'll break it. It's for them, it's like a matter of pride, to break the treaty. For these Arabs, so that's the way they are. Why? Because they say, that this forefather of theirs, he also broke the treaty with the Jews. He said, just like he broke the treaty, we're also going to do it. That's for them, it's a matter of pride. So Vayishkem Lavan v'boker v'nashek Lavana v'linota v'yivarech etem v'yelech v'yashov Lavan b'mko. So it says, right, they spent the night over there after they had this dinner, right, the festive dinner, festive meal, and then in the morning, right, gets up Lavan early, kisses everybody goodbye, and goes right his way and goes back to his home. That's the way it was, right? So now, right, Lavan is out of the picture, but that doesn't mean, by the way, the danger is over. Why? Because now he has to deal with Esav. He's coming right now. So, they say, right, the Chazal, they compare the predicament of Yaakov Avinu to a person, goes in the forest, first gets attacked by a lion, and somebody's able to save himself from the lion somehow. And then comes the tiger, right? Attacks him. Then comes the wolf. Then comes the bear. Then comes this. It's like one after the other. That's the way it was with Yaakov Avinu. He was being attacked by one after the other, right? He gets away from this one, then this one comes back. That's the same thing right over here. So what happened with Yaakov? He got away from Esav. He managed to run away from there. Then he got into Lavan's hands. He managed to get away from Lavan. Now he gets to come back to Esav again. And after Esav, then it was Shem also, right? But the problem with Shem, and then with Yosef, the brothers, and this, they sold him and so forth. So one tragedy after another he had to deal with. You understand? This was the life of Yaakov Avinu. They call that in Hebrew, right? Ason nodef ason. One disaster comes after the other. Just like that's the way it was, unfortunately. But that's the way it is with the tzaddikim, right? That they don't have a good life in this world. They have to suffer because to build themselves, to build their character, to make them, to give them the reward in the olam haba, in the world, in the lasting world. So this is why that's the way it was. So now, right, once Yaakov goes on his way he now enters Eretz Israel, as we said, right? That this land that they were in was the entrance of Eretz Israel. It's called Har Gilad, right? Where is that? The Transjordan, on the eastern back of the Jordan. It's over there, this place, and that's where they had this dinner, right? The festive dinner and the peace treaty. And then once he enters in after that to Eretz Israel, so Yaakov Avinu now sees a band of angels again, just like when he saw the band of angels when he left. Again, same thing now when he comes back, sees a band of angels. What does that mean? Two groups of angels. One going up to Shemaim, to heaven, and one coming down. The shift is being changed now, right? Mishmar, they call it Mishmar in Hebrew, right? The shift is now being changed. So what happened? Now there was angels that were assigned to protect him in Chutz La'aretz and outside in diaspora. So those were not going, their job was over, so they were going back up to Shemaim, to heaven. And now the ones that were supposed to guard him in Eretz Israel coming back now, coming down to do their job, right? So it's shifting around from the angels of Chutz La'aretz, of diaspora, to the angels of Eretz Israel. That's the way it was. That's why they had to now shift, right? So once Yaakov Avinu saw the shift of angels that had occurred, so he decided to call this place, right, which he thought it was very special, that he was able to see all these angels. So he called the place Machanaim, right? Machanaim. What does that mean, Machanaim? Machanaim means two camps, right? What does that mean? There was two camps of angels, right? One going up and one coming down. One finishing their job, now the other one starting their shift. So that's why he called it Machanaim. Two camps, right? Two camps of angels was over there. And this name was also kept, by the way, for a long time in history, this name. When the Jews conquered the land, these two places, right, Mitzpah and Machanaim, were two cities that were known to be in that area, right? And that's how they came from these events. That's why they were named these names. Okay, so we're going now starting the new parsha, right, which is Vaishlach. So what happens is now that Yaakov now has to deal with Esav. So what does he do? He sends now, right, messengers to deal with Esav. What does that mean? To go to him and say, listen, why did he, by the way, there's several reasons why he sent these messengers. This was not for no reason, right? Because first of all, he wanted to feel out the mood of Esav, you understand? To see if he's in a bad mood, he's in a good mood, he wants to attack, he's still hostile, maybe now he calmed down, right? Maybe he was
20 years.
Exactly, it's been 20 years, does he still have that hatred, in his heart, or did he get over it, Did he go on with his life? What was it? So he wanted to feel out that mood of Esav. That was his idea, But besides that, there was also other things, right? He wanted to also tell Esav that, from his vantage point, there was no hostility from his side. He wanted to act like a brother, have brotherly relations, so forth and so on, right? No monkey business, no wars, no battles, no nothing. Let's just, be brothers and live together side by side, in peace and harmony. Oh, that was his thing, right? But also, besides that, he wanted to give Esav here, like a subtle message over here, Our forefathers, by the way, you see in the Bible, they didn't speak like they speak today, like people speak today in a very harsh manner. Like they say, like harsh words sometimes, and people get offended by that. So how could you say that to me? Your words are too harsh, and you're insulting me, and so forth and so on. So because of that, our forefathers had this subtle way of speaking. So all their words were like hidden, like subterfuge kind of thing, encoded meanings. but not too harsh. In a way that you can understand, but you shouldn't get offended either. So what Yaakov Avinu here gave like a double entendre here in the message that he sent to Esav. Double language, like a double meaning. Right? So what's a double meaning? On the one hand, he wanted to show Esav one thing, right? He wanted to show him. Because why was Esav really angry at Yaakov? Because he stole the brachot from him, right? He took the blessings. That was the whole gripe. Because those blessings entail, monetary benefits. Understand? So because of that, he wanted to show Esav now, right? That all those blessings that his father gave him, they never really came to fruition. They never came true. So he's trying to tell Esav like this, right? You know what? I've been 20 years in the house of Lavan, and the truth is that all the blessings that my father gave me, to be like a big honcho, to be a big president, to be a king, all these things, none of these things came true. I just stayed like a regular guy, I'm just a regular citizen, average Joe, average Schmo, Joe Schmo, right? Nothing special. I have children, I have wives, I got married, nothing special, I'm just a regular guy like anybody else, I have possessions, I have animals, whatever, but I never became like a big, tycoon or anything like that, big billionaire. None of these things happened to me, so you have nothing to worry about. What does that mean? That all those blessings that I was blessed, they never really, he wanted to mitigate his jealousy, you understand? To make himself look like a regular guy. That was one thing that he tried to do. And by the way, this is something that the Chazal tell us, that when the Torah teaches us this thing, right? It's telling you also something for yourself. What does that mean? That when you live in the land of your enemies, of the goyim that don't like us, they hate us. So don't do things that show off too much. Make yourself too much, too much noise. Make yourself look like very wealthy and very successful, and and you got everything and nothing's lacking. And when you flirt this out in the street to everybody, so that makes it going jealous, they're going to get jealous because of that. And that also makes them do things to us that they normally wouldn't do. Because they say, wait a second, how is this, what's going on here? These Jews, they live in our country, they're foreigners, we're the owners of this country, but they're more successful than we are, how can it be such a thing like that? So they can't understand that, you understand? It makes them jealous. So because of that, we learn from here that when a person goes in front of the goyim, he has to, keep a low profile. Don't go too much. Don't go too far. It has to be. By the way, where do we see this? That a person, the way he lives his life, he has to dress in a way, and he has to drive in a way, and he has to live in a way. Everything right, extra show off. Extra noisy. So because of that, people see that and they say, oh, these Jews, wow, man. This guy's driving a Rolls Royce, and I don't have a Rolls Royce. I have a BMW. How is this Jew driving a Rolls Royce and I'm not? What kind of thing is this? They don't understand how the Jews are supposed to be so successful. By the way, how they get so successful? Because why? Because really the truth is, right? The Esav, the whole point between Esav and Yaakov is what? That Esav gets Olam Hazeh, he gets this world, and Yaakov gets Olam Haba. So he's coming to Yaakov and saying, listen, I was the one who's supposed to get Olam Hazeh, not you. So why are you so successful on Olam Hazeh? It's still a bit too much. You're even more than us. They can't understand that, so it's a hard time for them to understand that. So this is what Yaakov was trying to do, right? Trying to mitigate all this, to keep it low profile. Say, listen, I really didn't become anything special. I'm just a regular guy. So you have nothing to complain about. You have nothing to worry about. Let bygones be bygones. Let's forget about all this. Whatever happened in the past. It's just me, your brother, as a regular guy. I'm not a king. I'm not a prince. I'm not a tycoon. I'm not a billionaire. Just a regular guy like everybody else. This was one message that he was trying to send. You understand? There was also another message. In the same words, there's also another encoded message there, right? That what? He's telling Esav, listen, he says, I was living with Lavan for 20 years. And you know who's Lavan. Lavan is a very dangerous guy. Sorcerer, Nechashef. He knows all the tricks. He knows all the ways to do all kinds of damage to everybody. Evil eye, evil this, curses, this, everything, all the magic, black magic. He has everything, this guy. And nevertheless, he wasn't able to harm me all for 20 years. I was able to get out, with no harm to me or my children. Nothing. So why did he tell him all this? He was trying to say, if Laban couldn't harm me all this time, you also won't be able to. In other words, you got no chance. Laban is much more advanced than you are in these things. You expect to do it yourself. You got no chance to do it. That's what he was also trying to say. This is also one of the hidden meanings over here. So what does he say, right? In order to also to intimidate Esav a little bit, he says like this, right? Vayhi li shor bechamor tzon be'ebed b'shivcha. So he says what? That I have shor bechamor. I have donkeys and I have oxen, cows, right? So what is he trying to tell Esav these things? What does he care about how many animals he has? What kind of animals he has? What does Esav need to know this for? So really, right, they say the Chazal that this was a symbol, right? Why? Because if you look in the blessings of the tribes, you will see that one of the tribes was called Shor, and one of the tribes is called Hamor, right? Which tribe is called Shor? Yosef, right? Yosef HaTzadik is called Shor. The ox, right? He has the power of an ox, very powerful. So from so on, that's why they call him a Shor, right? The most powerful animal out of the domesticated animals is the ox, right? Very powerful animal. So Yosef was a Shor, and Hamor, who's that? Issachar, right? Issachar is the Hamor. Why? So why did he tell him that he has these two sons? He said, you know what? I have Yosef and I have Issachar. Why is he telling him all this? For what? So the idea was like this, right? That Yosef, very powerful, and also you know that he's the one who can fight against you, right? You have no power against him, Yosef. He's the one who can defeat you. So that means that don't even start up with me, because I got somebody here. I have a son, right, who can easily outfox you, beat you badly. Don't start up with me, right? That's what he was meant to say, right? He also said, what? I have Hamor. Why Hamor? Because Issachar, right, was Hamid Chacham, as we said, right? He was sitting and learning Torah all day. So you know why he told him that? Because the study of Torah is what protects the Jews, from harm. Nobody can harm the Jew when they're studying Torah. So because of that, he said, you know what? Listen, I have the son who sits and learns Torah all day. So you have no chance with us, the protection of the Torah is by us. You got no chance. I have Yosef, I have Issachar. Forget about it. Don't even try. Don't mess with me, right? So what is he trying to say, right? On the one hand, he's trying to say, listen, I don't really want to mess with you. I don't want to make problems. Let's live in peace together. But just in case you do want to do that, I have what to give, right? I have what to fight with you. You know what I'm saying? Don't think that I can't answer you, right? Answer your claims, right? I can answer. I can beat you. I can whatever I need to do. I can do. If it comes down to that, I can do that too. That's what he's trying to tell him, you understand? But all in a very subtle way, right? Subdued, not to offend him, not to cause him embarrassment, and so forth and so on. But he's trying to, also do some, psychological intimidation on him. That's the idea, you understand? To make him feel a little bit intimidated. So what does it say, right? Vayashuvu malachim el Yaakov. So the messengers went to Esav, and they went to speak with him. To tell him all these things that Yaakov wanted to send as a message, and then, right, all of a sudden, comes the messengers back, and Yaakov asked them, said, "Did you tell Esav everything that I told you to tell?" So they said, "Yes, we told him everything. We found him, right, and we told him all the messages that you wanted to give over." So Yaakov asked them, "No, so what did he answer? What did you see in his mood, right? What kind of mood is he in? Is he in a mood to fight, or is he in a mood to make up, kiss and make up?" So they said, "Forget about it, this guy is very hostile. He still hates your guts. He's coming with 400 men together with him, you understand? Why? Not because he wants to have a big party together, because he wants to attack you, you understand? He wants to come and attack. He's got 400 guys with him, all soldiers, right? People who are trained to make war. He's coming against you, right? With all that. So once Yaakov hears this, right? He says, "Oh my God. Oh, now this is a huge headache for me. You understand? I have to now deal with this guy. He's coming with 400 people. And that means that I have to maybe, fight a war over here." So that's what he was worried about. So says the pasuk, "Vayirak Yaakov me'od vayetzer lo vayachatz et ha'am et asher ito bet hatzon vet habakar legemalim leshti machanot." So it says, right, that that Yaakov now became very scared, very afraid, right? So the question is like this: what was he really afraid of? What's the fear? So, if you're going to tell me that his fear was that maybe he thought that, Esav can beat him up, and put him in a headlock, and take him down for the count, that's not really the case, right? Because Yaakov was no weakling, right? As we already saw when he went to the house of Lavan, over there he demonstrated how strong he was, right? That he was able to move that boulder that was covering the well, which needed about, 30, 50 people to move. He was able to do it with his finger like this, like this, he was able to move. So he was a very strong guy, Yaakov was a very strong man. He had supernatural strength. So what are you afraid of, what Esav, what are you afraid of? What's the fear? So the answer is, he wasn't afraid, in truth, right? He wasn't afraid of Esav beating him up or something like that. That's not what he was afraid of. What he was afraid of like this, right? It says Rashi over here, brings the name of the Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah. There was two things that were bothering him. He says, you know what? He says, if it's gonna come to a war between us over here, either I'm gonna kill him or he's gonna kill me. One or the other. And in both ways, it's very bad. I don't want to kill him. I don't want to be a murderer. I don't want to kill my brother, and I don't want him to kill me either. You know what I'm saying? Either way, in other words, if I let him kill me, so I die. But if I have to fight him, kill him, so that's also very bad. It's like either way, it comes out in a very unpleasant manner. So Yaakov wanted to do everything, in a sense, to avoid this confrontation. So he did everything in his power to avoid. So what is he doing, right? What does he do now? First of all, he does some strategy over here, right? Basic, your basic war strategy. So what he does is that he has now one camp, basically, together with all his family, the servants, the slaves, the children, sons, daughters. So what he does is like this, right? He says, you know what? Just in case Esav comes and attacks one camp, right? Exactly. So he says, I'm going to split it up into two. If he attacks one camp and is able to overcome the camp, so the other one will get away. So he does this as like an insurance policy, you understand? Just to make sure that he does the minimum damage that's possible to do, just in case that there's a war. That's one thing, right? So the first thing was they divided up into two camps. And then he says like this, right? He says, "Vayomer Yaakov Elohi Avi Abraham Elohi Yitzchak Avi Yitzchak Adonai Haomer Elai Shuv Le'atzecha U'moratecha V'ti Ba'imach." So now he starts to pray to Hashem. Right? Number one, number two is prayer. So what does he do? He says right to Hashem like this: "Katonti mikol hachasadim, kol ha'emet asher asita et abdecha, ki v'makli avarti et hayaden hazeh, ve'ata haiti l'shnei machanot." So he tells Hashem like this, right? Katonti. What does it mean, katonti? The simple meaning of the word katonti means I became small. So what does that mean? I became small, right? There's different ways to explain it, by the way. One thing is that since he divided up into two camps, he says, now I'm a smaller camp. That's one thing. But the deeper meaning is like this, right? He meant to say that, you know what? My zechuyot, my merits are smaller than they used to be. I used to have more merits, and now I have less, right? What does that mean, less? He said, you know what? All the 20 years that I've been here in the house of Lavan, Esav has been living in Eretz Israel, and I've been living in Syria, in Turkey, right? Whatever. Right? Turkey is a big problem today. So Syria is also a big problem. So he says, you know what? I've been living over there. So what does that mean? He says, the zechuyot, the merit of living in Eretz Israel, I haven't had it for 20 years. Esav has had it for 20 years. So in that sense, he has more merit than I do, right? He has, in the sense of Eretz Israel, right now he's on top of me, in the merit of Eretz Israel. He's been living there for 20 years and me not. So he says, you know what, I'm afraid that since I lost my merit of living in Eretz Israel, maybe Esav is going to be able to overcome me because of that merit. So he was afraid of that too, you understand? Besides that, he says, you know what, I'm also afraid of something else. That what? That you've made miracles for me since I've been in Lavan's house. Number one, you protected me from all his black magic and sorcery and all these things. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to survive if it wasn't for your protection, miraculous protection. Number two, also, when I escaped from there, now, right, I had to part I had to part the water over here. You parted the water for me, and I was able to come over to Eretz Israel without having to go through the water. There was a miracle also there. The waters were parted miraculously when he had to go over the water. So he says, all these things, that you've done all this chesed for me, all this kindness. He says, I'm afraid my zechuyot, my merits have dried up because of that. I lost my merits because they've been used up for the protection that I had. That was his worry. You understand? And that's why he was using this language, katonti, right? I've become small. My merits have become small. That's what he meant to say, right? So besides that, he says right like this, right? It says the next pasuk. Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav ki arei anochi oto pen yavo veikani em al banim. So he says, you know what? Save me from Esav. He says, tells Hashem. Right? Why? Because I'm afraid what's going to be, right? Maybe he's going to come and kill my wives and children, God forbid. Right? He was afraid of that. He was very afraid that something's going to happen to his children. Ve'ata amarta heted ve'tiv imach ve'samti et zarecha kechol hayam asher lo yisaper mirov. So he says, you know what? You promised me that I'm going to do good to your family, and your children are going to be very, very many. There's going to be many descendants, and you're going to have a whole nation. So he says, where's my promise? If this is going to happen now, I'm going to be wiped out here. So where's my nation? Where's my family? Where's my children? So you have to protect me. And he's trying to tell him, right? If you promised me you're going to protect me from all that. So what happens, right? He knows. So first thing he does is separate the camps. Number two, right? He goes into prayers, right? By the way.
Don't you pray first and then separate the camps?
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I can't tell you. I don't have an answer for you for that. But I guess you can say, you know what? After thinking about it for a second. Separating the camps was more like an immediate kind of a thing. You understand? In other words, it's just a physical way of avoiding the danger, So the kind of thing like that you have to do first. In other words, a person has to do physically everything in his power to avoid danger. Like for instance, if he's driving in a car, so he has to drive in a way which is safe, and not endanger himself, right? Like, not putting on a seatbelt, So if he doesn't put on a seatbelt, you're putting yourself in danger, So I mean, what do you expect, So that's why I say, right? What should you do first? First the prayer or first seatbelt? First the first seatbelt on, and then do the prayer, Because meanwhile, somebody could come and hit you, before you put the seatbelt on. So you have to put, you got to do first the physical part of it. I guess that's one way to say it, right? The answer. So anyway, getting back to what we're saying, it says like this, right? That he did these two things now to prepare himself. So everything he was trying to do, right, to mitigate the chances, to minimize the chances of coming into a frontal war, direct war with Esav, all these things. So then he goes on to say, right, that he, pasuk, Vayelen Hashem balayla ahu, Vaikach min haba biyado mincha le'Esav achiv. So now, right, he stayed over there that night, he lodged over there in that camp. And then in the morning, once he gets up in the morning, he prepares now a present for Esav, right? This is the third tactic, right? A bribe. Understand? So now what does he do, right? He has lots of animals. He just came from Lavan. He had lots of animals with him and all these things. So he prepares, from every type of animal he has, he prepares like a certain, 10%, whatever it is, to give to Esav in order to assuage his anger, right? To calm his wrath. So a gift is all, by the way, they say, right? The Chazal say, it says Shlomo Melech, he says the wisest of all men. He says that if somebody's angry with you or you need to get something from somebody, a favor, the best thing is to do is give a gift, because this is what brings favor in the eyes of people. So we Georgians, we know that we know that technique. We know it very well, right? So they know how when you go somewhere, that's why you're not that's not your people. So get some gifts also. Bring some gifts with you. Give this something. This guy you give a watch. This guy you give a necklace. You give him something. Everybody gets something, right? That's what he was trying to do over here also, Yaakov. He was trying to mitigate the anger of Esau by giving him gifts. This. And by the way, you should know that these three techniques that we learned over here, right? One is what? To prepare for war. Physically speaking. Number two, also to pray. Number three, also to bring a gift. They say that in the Talmud that the rabbis who used to go in the old days, right, in the time of the Roman Empire, so sometimes they had to go, the rabbis, to appease the Roman emperor, to go meet with him, to cut a deal so there should be peace between them. They shouldn't do some harm to them, whatever, to make all kinds of decrees against the Jews. So therefore, what they used to do is they would. Every time they would go to meet the Roman Empire, right, the Roman emperor, the Caesar, who was from Esav, right, as we know, right, we mentioned that. All the emperors were from Esav. So they say, right, what they used to do was, they used to study this parsha before they used to go. Why? Because they wanted to learn the tricks of Yaakov Avinu. Just like Yaakov Avinu used all these methods to go meet with Esav, so they said we have to do the same thing also when we go to meet the Caesar. right? To make out all these plans, take a gift, take prayers, say prayers, and also prepare for the worst also, just in case something happens, there has to be also, right, plan B, plan C, right, and so forth and so on. Just, right, all these things have to be planned out. They say, by the way, that one of the things, also we're going to see later on, that once Yaakov and Esav met up, so, Yaakov was able to somehow, right, to assuage the anger of Esav. And in the end, right, he made peace with him. For a while anyway, until, then things started to change. But for a while anyway, there was peace. So they say, right, that Esav, one of the tricks that Esav did was that once they made peace together, brotherly love, unquote, unquote, right, brotherly love. So what happened was that Esav now tells Yaakov, says, you know what? He says, let's go together. Okay, now we're brothers, we're together, we love each other. Let's live together. So two families together. We'll have make one society. So as you know, right, Yaakov Avinu, the answer was that what? No, he says, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I have too many livestock and little children. I need to go slowly with them. You travel much faster. You go fast, you're fast, you have soldiers over here. I have a family, small children, small livestock, this. I can't travel fast like you do. So Yaakov tells him, he says, thanks a lot, I appreciate your offer. You wanted to travel together, but he says, you know what, I'd rather just be by myself, if you don't mind, if you don't get offended. So then Esav gives him another offer, which is what? Tells Esav like this, right? He says, you know what, okay, you don't want to go together, let me give you some of my soldiers to protect you, just in case something happens. He says, my soldiers will be there, they'll be your protection.
Excellent gesture.
Yeah. So Esav gives him this gesture, you understand? So Yaakov says, no, he says it's okay, I know I can take care of myself, it's okay, I'm going very slowly. He says, don't worry, he says, one day I'm going to come to meet you, right? When you go to your place, one day I'm going to come to meet you. He says, then we'll be together. He says, for now, he says, I don't need the soldiers, it's okay. So they say, by the way, that Chazal also, used to learn this part of the story, it's a narrative. Why? Because they wanted to know how to behave with the Romans, you understand? Not to make the same mistakes that also Yaakov didn't make. So they wanted to learn all the tricks of Yaakov. So what happened was, they say one time, right, that Rabbi Nasi, he went to Rome to meet with the Caesar, right? I think it was Rabbi Nasi, or his grandfather, Rabban Gamliel, whatever it was, I don't remember. So they say, right, the Midrash that talks about this, right? So what happened was that Rabbi Nasi was very respected in Rome. You understand? The Roman emperor loved him very much. Remember? So they had like a big friendship together, these two. You understand? It was like one of the rare times where the Roman emperor and the Jewish leader were like best friends, these two. Who was that? Antoninus, right? Anthony, right? Antoninus, Caesar Antoninus, by the way, eventually also converted to Judaism, this guy. He became a Jew, he converted. He loved Torah, he loved all these things. He loved Judaism. Maybe Trump will also, you never know. His daughter already went. So anyway, what happened was like this, right? That Rabbi Nasi goes to Rome, he goes to the Caesar, so the Caesar tells him, he says, you know what? He says, you're going back to Israel now, right? So he says, let me give you some of my, soldiers, and they'll accompany you back to protect you. He says, just in case something happens on the road, things are dangerous over there, there's all kinds of things. So Rabbi Nasi, what happened was that he didn't remember this story of Yaakov and Esav, understand? That Yaakov refused the help of Esav, protection, all this kinds of stuff, So he tells the Caesar, he says, okay, they can come with me, let them come. They also had a very good friendship, you understand? So he didn't think much of it, you understand? Rabbi Nasi, he didn't think much of it. He said, okay, fine, if he wants to do me a favor, he wants to show me a friendly gesture, I don't mind, he's really my friend, he's really a true friend. Okay, so fine. So what happened was that when they started to go on the way, right, so they left Rome, so somewhere on the way over there, these soldiers decided to turn on them, and they attacked the Rabbi Nasi in his camp. Understand? They had to actually fight against them to fight them off. So they almost got killed, because of this. So then once they realized that this was a mistake, they said, he said, we didn't learn the parsha, of Yaakov, that when Esav offered him the help, he didn't take it. He says, because we didn't learn this parsha, that's why we made this mistake. We almost got killed. So So you see from there, by the way, that a person has to learn these lessons of Yaakov, how he behaved with Esav, and when he goes to deal with the Goyim, he has to also use these methods, you understand, in order to protect himself from the Goyim. Because otherwise he may get himself into trouble. You should know, by the way, it's unbelievable that once I saw this Midrash, which was like, let's say, 25 years ago, I must tell you, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So what happened was that at that time, the Rabbi was still alive, you understand? The Admori, Lubavitch. Yeah. So what happened was that the Rabbi also had like very good relations with the police, you understand? In Brooklyn. So what they used to do is, they very much respected him as a rabbi, as a religious figure, you understand? The police over there. So they gave him, the mayor also was, the mayor was also involved. The police commissioner, the mayor, this and that. So when the Rebbe used to go every once a week. He used to go to visit his wife's grave, to the cemetery. Understand? He used to go and talk with her over there, have conversations with her, whatever. So what happened was that the police were giving him an escort. He was getting police escort every time he would go to the grave. Sirens, going, together like a motorcade. You understand? That's the way it was. So what happened was that this was going on for like years, I think. And one day, what happened was that the motorcade was traveling a little quickly. So what happened was that the motorcade went fast and they went through the light before the red came. But they wanted to stay together, you understand? So there was one Jewish car that
ran the light.
Right, exactly, ran the red light and ran over like a kid, a black kid, you understand? So from this started all kinds of riots, and this guy Rosenbaum got killed. From all this started from this, you understand? So I said to myself, my God, you see the same thing over here, you see? Because they were taking police protection, going over there like that. This is what caused it. Those riots, and this kid got killed, this young boy got killed. Same thing, you understand? So we see from there, by the way, that the Torah is true and faithful all the way to our generation. Don't ever think, right, that you can outsmart the Torah, it's outdated, it's old, it's old-fashioned. Nothing changed, right? When it comes to this, nothing changes. So that's what happened, Rabbi. So we have to learn from there that a person has to use these methods. Every time he goes to meet with Esav, he used to use these methods. By the way, another thing which also, right, that they say was another interesting method was like this, right, that Esav told to Yaakov, let's travel together. We can go as one family. So Yaakov tells him, no thanks, I don't want to go together with you. And by the way, this was also a symbol. That what? That Yaakov Avinu, that he refused to travel together with Esav. By the way, there's many reasons for this, as we said, right? There's also physical danger. But besides that also, we have also spiritual danger, you understand? Because when the Jews hang around together too closely with the Goyim, they get negatively influenced by that. You understand?
Who was the one that was friendly with Caesar?
The Caesar Antoninus, right? Anthony was friendly with Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, right? Who was the king of the Jews. He was the president of the Jews.
Yehuda ben
Nasi, right? The Nasi means like a president. He was the president of the...
At the time of Mark Antony and...
right, Antoninus, right? Anthony, right? Exactly,
yeah,
yes.
You
yes.
don't mean Herod?
No, that was after Herod. After Herod, right? After Herod. Several hundred years after that.
Okay.
About 300 years after Herod. So we see from there another thing, right? Which is what? That the Chazal tell us, just like Yaakov refused to travel with Esav, so the Jews have to learn from that, that we shouldn't be too closely associated with the Goyim, to keep a little bit of distance between them. They have their society, we have our society, we live in peace, Baruch Hashem, we have peace between us, but we have to have our customs, our way of living, they have to have their way of living, and when a person goes with them, so he gets negatively influenced by that, you understand? So a person has to be careful also, right, to keep his distance. And we learned also this from Yaakov Avinu. So this whole episode over here, this narrative, is full of good advice, how a Jew has to deal with his non-Jewish surroundings, right? How he has to put a fence around himself and keep himself guarded, and this is a spiritual thing, he has to keep himself spiritually guarded and also physically guarded as well. Okay, we'll stop here. Chazak Baruch. Laila Tov. God bless you. Thanks for coming.
It's funny that you said that. The other day I belong to a synagogue. And,
Yes, which one?
Rabbi Mendelssohn.
Yes, where is that?
Right next to the Jewish Community Center on 108th Street, 67th Avenue.
Okay.
Machan Chodesh.
Oh, that's Rabbi Gans used to be there. Rabbi Gans.
Yes, exactly.
You know Rabbi Gans?
He's now
He retired.
Retired.
Ah,
He's
very
sort of
nice.
Emeritus.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway.